Gumfa Road Municipal Secondary English School. Welcome you all for statewide online lecture. Last time we started with chapter number 1 for political science, that is post-World War political developments. So before proceeding to the next part of the lesson, students will go through or we will revise what we have done till now. We started with international system. Now international system is basically where we looked on to how we are dependent on different persons, institutions, and organizations in society for different reasons and for different facility. Our life in society is interdependent, and mutual cooperation between each other has a very important place. So as it is true with individual and society, it applies for nations as well. So there are many independent nations in the world, like our country, India, but there are some kind of exchange and some kind of interaction which goes on constantly, you can say continuously. So the independent states, they enter into treaties with each other. So a system of all these independent sovereign states, when it comes up together, we call it an international system. Then next we did is the concept of interdependence. Okay, like how we are dependent on each other, how individual is also dependent. Similarly, all countries of the world are also dependent on each other for some reason or the other. However successful, however big, however mighty the nation may be or the country might be, okay, it can never be self-sufficient about its needs. Even the big nation have to depend upon big and small nation. So it becomes an important features of international system, that is today's global system. Then the foreign policy. Foreign policy, in detail you will learn in next chapter, but you came across this term foreign policy. So it's like every nation has a policy, or you can say policies about its internal dealing, like in terms of defense, in terms of trade, technology, arms, ammunitions, and also relation with other nation, like which country we have to be friendly with, which group of country we have to join, what will be beneficial for our country. Thinking all while taking decision about all this, such a policy is made. So this policy is known as foreign policy. Then we did about First World War. So the First World War was the period between the fought between 1914 and 1918 in 20th century, and there were major countries of Europe that took part in it. It was between the countries which were involved, or you can say it was Allied powers and Central powers. Wherein under Allied powers, it was Britain, France, Russia, Italy, America, and under Central powers, it was Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria. So this Europe had a very central place, you can see, in this war, and there was lots of tremendous loss. Means you can say lot of loss in this war. There was loss of life, there was loss of property. Okay, and the countries which did not join the war, they also had to suffer economic losses, like financial loss, you can say. And even the country which joined, as well as the country which did not join, they both were affected by this war. Now after First World War, there was an organization which was started, the international organization which was known as League of Nations, and it was an important platform which was used to solve international disputes and carry out negotiation. But however, it was not able, or you can say not successful, to prevent or to avoid the Second World War to happen. Then we did Second World War. Now Second World War period is between 1939 to 1945, and then this Second World War was far more destructive. More destruction was done in compared to First World War. As you can see, there were a lot of advanced technology, weaponry, okay, used in World War II, and the countries in the world who took part in World War II, also they suffered a situation of economic crisis. Now, in the countries which were involved in Second World War, it was between Allied powers and Axis powers. Now, Allied powers, it was Britain, France, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, India, Soviet Union, China, America, and Axis powers were Germany, Japan, and Italy. And America had a very major role. And in order to end the war, what did America do? It had dropped two nuclear weapons on two cities of Japan, that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 9th and 6th and 9th of August 1945. And it was a very, you can say, world's first atomic bomb attack, which killed around 140,000 people at a time, and 10 of 1,000 died instantly. And it had generation, and its effect were on months, years, and generation to come. Because of this bomb in Japan, the generation to come was affected. Then we did about Cold War, the Cold War period between 1945 to 1991. Okay, and this Cold War, it was not actually a war. It is like a condition where there was no actual war, but there was such a tension that they may be that such a situation, you can say, that it may be responsible to cause war. And it was between two superpowers, that is America and Soviet Union. Then we did the effects of Cold War. Under the effects of Cold War, the first point, creation of military organization. There were two military organizations which was created. Okay, one was NATO, that was North Atlantic Treaty Organization under the power of America, and Warsaw Pact, which was the military organization under the command of Soviet Union. Then second point, it was bipolarization of world, like the world was divided into two groups under two superpowers. So such a division of the world into two groups was known as bipolarization. Then arms race, like competing with each other in terms of manufacture of arms and weapons. So this the two superpowers, that is America and Soviet Union, they started producing arms on a large scale to show that they are clever than each other, and more destructive weapons they wanted to manufacture or produce, and they acquired technology for the same. But later they did realize that it will only be endanger, it will only put in danger the international peace. None of the profit would be earned by it. Then there was creation of regional organization like European Economic Unity, and another one is that is ASEAN. Okay, European Economic Unity was under the wherein the European countries which came together and formed this association, organized regional organization, European Economic Community, and the Southeast Asian countries, they formed ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nation, uh, with countries like Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, etc. Then we have next, that is non-alignment. Okay. Last point under the effects of Cold War. Non-alignment is basically during this Cold War, when the world was becoming bipolar. So there were some countries which did not join the superpower rivalry. Such nations, they decided to stay out of the Cold War rivalry. So their policy is known as non-alignment. And this non-alignment was an important movement during the Cold War. So this was the part that we did in our last lecture. Now we will move on to next part of the chapter, the rest part of the chapter. Now you have the communist revolution took place in 1917 in Russia. Now communist revolution, it was led by Bolsheviks, a revolutionary party against the government of Tsar Nicholas II. Now this Bolsheviks, they supported the principle of communism, or you can say they were committed to ideas of German philosopher Karl Marx. According to Karl Marx, it was like a planned economy, greater quality and ownership of income, producing property by the it should be producing property should be owned by the state rather than the private parties. So this communist revolution, it took place in Russia in 1917, and out of it Soviet Union came into existence. In a short while, the Soviet Union, that is today's Russia and 15 Republican countries, they came up as superpower in international politics. But there were extreme differences. Extreme differences means there were a lot of disagreement between America and Soviet Union. Like for example, the USA was a democratic state, means advocating capitalism. Capitalism means such a political or economic system in which a country's trade industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than the state. While the Soviet Union, they advocated socialism, like they believed in ideas of Karl Marx, like means of production, distribution, exchange should be owned by the community, that is the state. Okay. So these were the two different ideology, you can say, between USA, that is America, and the Soviet Union. Both the superpowers, they wanted to expand their dominance, means their control or power in the world. Now America wanted to spread capitalism, while Soviet Union, they wanted to spread socialism. Now both the countries, they started making efforts to pull smaller countries into their respective blocks. Block means into their respective group, in order to increase their hegemony. Hegemony means their rule. They tried to pull the smaller countries under their rule. Now what happened as a result? Europe was ideologically divided. Uh, it was divided into Western Europe. Western Europe, like you can see in the here in this map, Western Europe, these countries under Western Europe, which was this group of countries, they joined the bloc led by America, while the Eastern European countries, they joined the bloc led by Soviet Union. So these superpowers, they espoused means they adopted the policy of extending military and economic help to the countries in their respective blocs. Means they assured whoever will join us, we will give them help in the terms of the helping in military or economic help will be given. So now we move on to next point, that is non-aligned movement. So we understood what this non-alignment term, okay, under the effect of Cold War. Now this non-aligned movement, it's the Asian, it's where the Asian and African countries which became independent after the Second World War, they supported this non-alignment idea of non-alignment. So this movement, it was started from 1961 under the leadership of India's Prime Minister, that is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, President of Yugoslavia, that is Marshal Tito, President of Egypt, that is Gamal Abdel Nasser, President of Indonesia, that is Dr. Sukarno, and Prime Minister of Ghana, that is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So these were the leaders who started with non-alignment movement in 1961. Now we will understand what was this non-alignment movement about. This non-alignment movement, they opposed it opposed colonialism. Okay, colonialism means like you can say the practice of acquiring full or partial or political control over another country, occupying it with settlers and exploiting it economically. When you forcibly try to take control of another country, occupying their settlers, exploiting them economically. So this was not supported by non-aligned movement. And they also opposed imperialism. Imperialism is, you can say, a system in which a country rules other country using force to get power over them. So both things, as well as they opposed racism. Racism is where any kind of discrimination against individuals is done on the basis of their skin color or their origin, ethnic origin. So all these three things were opposed under non-aligned movement. It encouraged the resolution. Resolution means it encouraged the decision of international disputes, disagreement by peaceful means. Means if any countries are disagreeing with each other, or there is any kind of disagreement, so that should be solved peacefully, not by the means of war. And our country, India, led this movement under the guidance of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister of our country. India continued to actively support the movement afterwards as well. Even after the end of Cold War, the importance of the movement has not reduced. Now, this non-aligned movement, it is based on eternal principle. Now, eternal means everlasting principle. What were the principle? It is based on humanism. Okay, means it like we believe that people can achieve happiness and live together irrespective of any religion. Global peace, like freedom, happiness among all the nation of the people. Equality, treating each other equally irrespective of caste, religion, gender. So it was the principle under non-aligned movement, and it has inspired, you can say, motivated the less developed countries, the countries which were not developed, so that countries to come together. Non-aligned movement has encouraged the resolution of international disputes by peaceful means. Now, as we discussed earlier, also it passed a decision that any kind of international disagreement is there, it should be solved peacefully, while taking a firm stand on disarmament. Disarmament means reducing a number of weapons that a country has, fostering fostering human rights. Fostering means encouraging human rights. The non-aligned movement put forth the problems of poor, undeveloped countries. Okay, so it had a very strong opposition. Okay, it took a firm standard to reduce the use of weapons, or the use or the arms production, and it encouraged human rights, making aware of people about human rights, and it put forth the problem of all the poor and undeveloped countries. Now, what are human rights? Now, this term also you will come across many times. Um, when the human rights, students, it's a rights which is inherent to all human beings. Okay, human rights is a right which is inherent, you can say it is a basic right which is given to all human beings, or you can say all the one who is born as a human being, irrespective or regardless of any race, any gender, any kind of nationality, ethnicity, means any following any kind of culture, tradition, language, religion, or any other status. Human rights includes the right to life and liberty, like right to be as a human being, we have a right to live our life. We have right to liberty, means freedom. We have a right to freedom from slavery, any kind of slavery and torture. Freedom of opinion and expression, we can express our opinion, um, whatever our view is there, we can express that as well. We have the right to work and education and many more. So everyone born as a human being is entitled to these rights, in you can say authorized to these rights without discrimination. Now, this non-aligned movement, it made a demand. Okay, it made a demand for what? New international economic order, that is NIEO, to promote economic development among the poor countries through self-help and South cooperation. Now, what was this NIEO? NIEO is the new international economic order. Okay. Now it was set, it was, or you can say it was established for a proposal to put forward. Okay, it was like put forward during the 1970s by the developing countries. So this was basically for developing countries. They were through this NIEO, New International Economic Order. it was this movement, non-aligned movement, made demand for NIEO, and through NIEO, the developing countries, they put forth the following main objectives. It was to revise the international economic system. You can say revise means to improve or update the international economic system. International economic system means which involves exchange of technological, economical, and political factors across nation due to advancement in communication, transportation, or infrastructure system. So that needs to be improved in favor of the developing countries which are not developed or still developing. The developing nations, they wanted a system that would give them a real control over their natural resources like water, land, sunlight, animal life. They wanted such a system that they get all control over their natural resources. Then the developing countries, they wanted to set up a system under which they could get fairer, means amount of money reasonable, which could be paid a good price, you can say, for raw materials, and better access. Access means way to enter for their manufactured goods in the developed countries market. So these were the aim which was put forward, or proposal put forward under NIEO by developing countries, that they could get a good price for their raw materials for the production, and whatever goods they produce. Okay, that should be it should have a way to enter in developed countries markets, and developing countries must be entitled, means given the right to regulate, means to adjust to requirement and control the activities of multinational corporations, means the MNCs. It's a business organization whose activities are located in more than two countries and is organizational form that defines foreign direct investment. So through NIEO, all this proposal were put forward by the developing countries. Summarizing briefly the significance, you can see the importance of the non-aligned movement has not even reduced, not even become less, even if the Cold War is over. It inspired, it means the motivated or encouraged, you can say, the less developed countries to come together. It brought several new streams of economic changes and social changes as well. Economic changes means change in economic structure like system of production, resources, allocation, distribution of goods and services within a society. Social changes like transformation of culture, behavior, social institutions, structures over time into international politics. It gave these countries the confidence to assert, means to declare themselves with respect, with self-respect. Means it gave the countries, the developing countries mostly, to declare themselves with self-respect, not to think that they are less in international politics, means all in between countries all over the world. Now we move on to next point, that is end of Cold War. So we will understand here what happened towards the end of the Cold War. Now the Cold War that had dominated international politics since 1945. It came to an end in 1991. So long period from 1945 to 1991 was for Cold War. It was an important event that happened towards the end, means of last century, means towards the end of 20th century. There were many reasons for the end of the Cold War, as given below. Now the Soviet Union, they adopted the the Soviet Union adopted the policy of opening up the economy. Now, Soviet Union, they opened the operations of countries, money, supply, commercial activities, trade and industry. The state loosened up its control of the economy. Okay? So the government, they lose the control, and this you can say they opened up the policy of opening up the economy, or free market policy kind of. The then president of Soviet Union, that is Mikhail Gorbachev, he implemented the policies of perestroika. Perestroika means restructuring. Okay, so the president during that period, his name was of Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev. He implemented the policy, two policies. Okay, the name of the policies were Perestroika, that is restructuring, or you can say reorganizing, and Glasnost. Glasnost means openness. Now we will understand both these policies. Now this Glasnost, this was which was started. It was undertaken to increase openness and transparency in government institutions and activities in Soviet Union, that is USSR. Now this all the transparency means all working over all the government offices, institution. It should be transparent. That it should not be any kind of secret activity. Even the normal, the common people should be able to know about it. So that was undertaken. Even the Glasnost reflected a commitment of Mikhail Gorbachev administration to allow Soviet citizens to discuss publicly. So whoever was a citizen of Soviet Union, they could come forward and discuss the problems of whatever problems happening all through the system, and what is the potential solution, means what is the possible solutions. The next was the policy of perestroika. Perestroika is restructure of Soviet economic. Economic means setting interest rate, government budget, labor market, national ownership, and political policy. That is plan of action related to the activities of the government of people or people. Was Mikhail Gorbachev's second policy. Now, this policy, what was it? What How did it help? It allowed the people to elect their own representative, to elect their own leader, and lifted tight control on the managers and the workers. So these two policies was implemented, or you can say started by the then president, that is Mikhail Gorbachev. Due to these policies, the control over the media like reduced. Now media got freedom of press, like the right of newspaper media, like mass media, like newspaper, magazine. They could report news without government control. Previously, they were not allowed. Then, when these in policies were implemented, the media got the freedom of press, wherein they could report news without any kind of press control or restriction by government. Important changes took place in the political and economic spheres, like in production, consumption, and accumulation. And these spheres were restructured. This gave impetus to democracy, means this gave progress to democracy, wherein a government of country elected by the people. This was the second point under the end of Cold War. The third point is, as the East European countries, under the influence of Soviet Union, adopted the capitalist, means they supported capitalism. We understood this in the previous slide, initial slide also, students. The East European countries which joined Soviet Union, and they adopted the ideology of Soviet Union, that was capitalism. Okay, so they supported capitalism and democratic path, means representative elected by people, and the regimes made like the government there changed. Then fourth point is the Soviet Union, it got disintegrated, like you can get say separated, and there was several new nations were created out of it. Okay, the Soviet Union got divided, and there were new nation that came into existence, as you can see here. That is and in that you can see number one is Russia, the red part which is occupied, and it is the biggest among the biggest country in the Soviet Union. So Soviet, now it was towards the end of Cold War, it was not Soviet Union. The Soviet Union got disintegrated, separated, or you can say divided, and this new nation came into existence. Under it was Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus. Okay, then Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. So these were the 15 republic countries after Soviet Union got disintegrated. towards the end of Cold War. And among this, Russia was the biggest one. Now we will understand what happened post Cold War, means after Cold War. We did about the points towards the end of Cold War. Now we'll understand what happened towards the post Cold War, means after Cold War. Now the Cold War came to an end with the disintegration of the Soviet Union. As we understood, the Soviet Union got separated into 15 republican countries, which still then had been a superpower. It was a superpower then till that time. As a result, major changes took place in world politics. For example, America remained the only superpower in the world politics. Now, Soviet Union got disintegrated, so America was the only one superpower. But it was one of the country of the world that had great military, economic power, and lot of influence. And then there was a conducive atmosphere. You can say a certain situation that such as atmosphere existed in for the growth of for the growth in trade. Trade, it's like involving the buying, selling of goods or services, compensation paid by the buyer to a seller, or you can say exchange of goods and services between parties. So there was such an atmosphere that there was growth of trade, there was growth in economic relations, like economic activity that involved participants of two or more countries, most obviously trade, but also another form of exchange between and among the nations. Capital means money, labor, that is working class, market, and information circulated throughout the world. Ideas spread freely as well. Now, as all the nations of the world, they decided to give priority to trade relation. The idea of giving aid means help to other nation, fell behind. So now all the nations of the world after Cold War, they had decided to give more and more importance to trade. Okay, so the concept of helping each other was behind, and to have trade relation was more. Instead, efforts began to be made to establish economic relation like economic interaction, money, goods, services among various countries, and their effect on global economy. The description of a country which was opposed to another has now changed from enemy nation to rival nation. Means the country which were called as enemy, now it was rival. Rival means they were competitors with each other. The responsibility of United Nations, which is an international organization for maintaining international peace and security, has increased. The United Nations now had to take more concrete means real step to maintain global peace and security, because many countries were involved with interaction and exchange with each other. So when there shouldn't be any kind of disagreement, dispute, and there should not be fight or war, and whatever if it is there, it should be discussed and negotiation should be done. It was the responsibility of United Nations. Then environmental protection, like practice of protecting the natural environment by individual, organization, and government. Fostering of human rights, like encouraging human rights. Gender equality means equality between the gender, male, female, and management of natural calamities like the flood, you can say, or earthquake, or drought, that is lack of rain, or you can say famine is shortage of food. Now acquired a global dimension, means it was uh, a global worldwide, it was a worldwide direction. So all this protecting environment, encouraging human rights, gender equality, managing all the natural calamities, it was not restricted to only one country, but it was this problem, or um, working for it and protecting environment, or encouraging human rights, all these things, okay, was motivated all over the world. Okay, all the countries of the world were finding to get the solution remedy for these problems. Then what is globalization? The next concept. Okay. This the term globalization also you will come across many times when you learn history and political science. So you need to understand this concept of globalization, students. Now, you can say it's a process of interaction. Now, interaction means the communication and integration. Integration means combination among people. Okay. So it's a process where people communicate, they come together, or you can say the companies, the government worldwide, they come together, interact, communicate, okay, collaborate with each other. Globalization has accelerated, means speeded up since 18th century due to advance on transportation. As we got progress or advancement in transportation, communication technology like internet, multimedia, email, telephone, and other sound based and video based communication means. Okay. So because globalization has speeded up, the distance between the people in the world has become less because of all this communication technology that has come up. So this increase in global interaction has caused a growth in international trade and exchange of ideas and culture. For example, advance in transportation, you can say like steam locomotives, steamship, jet engine, and container ship. Development in communication infrastructure like telegraph, which is a method of sending messages over long distance using wire that carry electrical signals, internet, mobile phone. They have a major factors in globalization. Means the world is becoming a small village. So in a fraction of second, you can interact with the people who sitting at any part of the world, or any event happening any part of the world, we'll get to know. Okay, so because it's a major factor which has you can say like the internet, telegraph, the mobile phone, internet have been a major factor in globalization, and it has generated further interdependence, means dependency of economic, that is free trade, and cultural activities, that is exchange of cultural values of different countries, the merging of traditions around the globe. Now, after the end of the Cold War, trade trade and economic relation between countries became more open. As been mentioned before, capital, labor, market, and information was circulated globally. The give and take of ideas of among people all over the world grew. There was more of exchange among the people, give and take. Due to revolution means a complete change in method, opinion, etc., often as a result of progress in information technology like use of electrical equipment like computers for storing, collecting, and sending information. Different events and development began to be known everywhere. The boundaries between the nation did not remain as sacrosanct. Sacrosanct means it was not previously, the boundaries were given more important, but later during this period it was the boundaries did not remain important as before. All these processes were together known as globalization. Just as globalization has brought us benefits, it has also caused losses as well. For example, in economies like the area of distribution, production, trade, as well as consumption of goods and services by different countries got linked to each other. Trade increased. Trade was more. The trade relations started more between different countries of the world. Economic unification grew. Economic unification was more. Plenty of products became available in the markets, but at the same time, the gap between the poor and the rich country did not reduce. So globalization brought a lot of benefit, but the loss was also there. The poor remained poor only, and the rich countries became more rich. The gap between them was not reduced. So, students, in this chapter, we studied the global developments from 1945 onwards. We understood the world in the Cold War period, the arms race, and the efforts at disarmament, act of taking away or reducing the use of weapons. We also learned about the meaning of globalization. In the next chapter, we shall study India's foreign policy. What are the points you should remember for this chapter? Now, duration of First World War. Now, duration of First World War was 1914 to 1918. Then you have Allied powers of World War One. It was between Allied powers, that is Britain, France, Russia, Italy, America. Central powers were in World War One was Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria. What was the purpose of League of Nations, which was started after World War One? It was to resolve international disputes, to carry out negotiation, to avoid war. Then, what were the major changes in Europe after World War One? Earlier empire of Europe collapsed. Movement for independence started in the colonies of European countries. Establishment of League of Nations. Rise of autocratic regimes like Germany, Italy, and Spain. So these are the points you need to remember in the chapter. Duration of Second World War was between 1939 to 1945. That it was between Allied powers, Axis powers. Allied powers were the countries like Britain, France, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, India, Soviet Union, China, America. Axis powers were Germany, Japan, Italy. The incident that marked the end of World War II, that was dropping of nuclear bombs on Japan cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by America on 9th of August, 6th and 9th of August 1945. War that began with the end of World War II, that was Cold War 1945 to 1991. Reasons for the rise of Cold War, that was struggle for power, arms race, difference in ideology, the attitude to checkmate each other by strategies by America and Soviet Union. The military organization which was created during the Cold War, it was NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty under dominance of America, and Warsaw Pact under the command of Soviet Union. Then the concept that explains the divisions of the nation of the world in two groups, showing loyalty to either of the two superpower blocs, that is America or Soviet Union during Cold War. That concept is known as bipolarization. Then member countries that form the Association of Southeast Asian Nation, ASEAN, which were the member countries, you should remember, that is Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. Policy by which some countries did not want to join the superpower rivalry, they decided to stay out of the Cold War rivalry. It is known as non alignment. Countries that supported non alignment, that's African and Asia and African, Asian and African countries that became independent after World War II. Birth of non aligned movement means when was the non alignment movement started? 1961. Leadership of non alignment movement, you should remember, for it was for India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Prime Minister, Marshal Tito, President Yugoslavia, Gamal Abdel Nasser, President Egypt, Dr. Sukarno, President Indonesia, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, President Ghana. Then evaluation of non-aligned movement. It opposed colonialism, imperialism, racism. It encouraged peaceful resolution of international dispute. What were the principles that formed the basis of non-aligned movement? It was based on eternal principles of humanism, global peace, and equality. Policies of President Mikhail Gorbachev that led to the end of Cold War. Two policies I explained you all, that is perestroika, restructuring, and glasnost, openness. The only superpower in world politics at the end of Cold War, that is America. Now we'll just have go through the evaluation part, students. The first question is choose the right option and rewrite the sentence. The Cold War ended with this event. Your options are establishment of the United Nations, disintegration of the Soviet Union, creation of military organization. Okay. So you need to find out the correct answer here. The correct answer is disintegration of the Soviet Union. The Cold War ended with this event. Then the next you have the Second World War was fought between The period you need to write whether it was 1914 to 1918, 1930 to 1934, 1939 to 1945, or 1945 to 1950. So correct answer is 1939 to 1945. Then Dash dropped nuclear bombs on two cities of Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So which country dropped it? You need to choose from America, Russia, Germany or Italy. The correct answer is America. Then the non-aligned movement emerged in Dash. Okay. The options given is which year you need to choose that. Now, whether it is 1947, 1956, 1961 or 1965. The correct answer is 1961. The Dash made a demand for of a new international economic order, NIEO. The options are non-aligned movement, ASEAN, NATO, or European Economic Community. So correct is non-aligned movement. Then you will also get a concept chart question or your graphical description question. So like this. So you need to answer that. Here we have the leaders of non-aligned movement. So for India, you need to write who was the leader. That is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Yugoslavia, you need to write Marshal Tito. Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser. Indonesia, Dr. Sukarno. Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The next question is explain with reasons whether the following statements are true or false. The first question is you need to mention whether it is true or false, and you also have to mention the reason in points, students. The League of Nations was established after the First World War. Okay, so the statement here is true. The League of Nations was established after the First World War. Now, the First World War caused a tremendous loss of life and property. All the nations they felt that such a war should not happen again, and some measures to be taken to achieve this end. Out of this thinking, international organization, a League of Nations was established. The next question is the policies of Mikhail Gorbachev gave an impetus to democratization. Again, this statement is true. The Soviet Union they adopted the policy of opening up economy. The state loosened up its control. President who was the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, he implemented the policies of perestroika, that is restructuring and glasnost openness. Due to this policy, the control over the media reduced. Important changes took place in political and economic spheres. So the policies of Mikhail Gorbachev gave an impetus, uh, encouragement, you can say, to democratization, democracy. Then the rivalry between the Soviet Union and the America culminated into Second World War. This is not the reason. That is false. Soviet Union and America rivalry was not the reason for Second World War. The reason was the League of Nations was established after First World War, but it did not succeed, was not succeed, could not succeed in preventing war. Autocratic regimes came up in Germany, Italy, Spain, and other countries. Then you have give graphical description. Give graphical descriptions of five member states of ASEAN. You need to mention five member states of ASEAN. That is Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, and Philippines. Then you also get a question like explain the following concepts. Okay, here we have Cold War. So you need to again answer this question in points, students. Now you can write the first point as the concept of Cold War is used to describe the condition where there is no actual war, but there are such a tension in the circumstances that may be responsible to cause war. So there is no open war between the two countries, but there is such a tension in their relation that it seemed that a war could erupt at any time. The next concept, or you can say short note kind of non-alignment. Again, the first point you can mention that in the era of Cold War, while the world was becoming bipolar, there were some nations like India which did not join the superpower rivalry. Such nation they decided to stay out of Cold War rivalry. Their policy is known as non-alignment. Then globalization, the concept of globalization, wherein you can mention the first point in 1990s after the end of Cold War, trade and economic relations between countries became more open. Second point, there was free flow of capital, technology, labor, market, information across the world. Third point, as boundaries between nations did not remain as sacrosanct as they were before. Fourth point, there is give and take of ideas among the people all over the world. So all these processes are together called as globalization. Then write brief answers also you get for your exam. You need to study that. The first question here is what are the factors responsible for the end of Cold War? So first you will mention the factors responsible for the end of Cold War are as follows. Again in points you need to write. You'll write the first point as the Soviet Union adopted the policy of opening up the economy and loosening the state control on the economy. Second point, the then president of Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, implemented policy of perestroika, restructuring, and glasnost openness. The Soviet economy and policy were restructured. Third point, as he reduced control over the press, this gave an impetus to democracy in Russia. Fourth point, the East European countries they challenged socialist government. These countries broke free from influence of Soviet Union and adopted a democratic capitalist path. Then fifth point, disintegration of Soviet Union contributed to the end of Cold War. The next question, what are the major changes that occurred in global politics after the end of Cold War? So again, you will mention in points like the following major changes occurred in global politics after the end of Cold War. Global politics became unipolar with America was the only superpower remaining the superpower. Atmosphere conducive to the growth in trade and economic relation between and among nations emerged. Capital, labor, market, technology, ideas, and information freely circulated throughout the world. The idea of giving aid to other nations fell behind, as all nations of the world decided to give priority to trade relations. So, the fifth point you can write the description of a country which was opposed to another changed from enemy nation to rival nation. They became competitors. The responsibility of United Nations increased. It had now to take concrete steps to maintain global peace and security. Then last point, you can mention the issues of environmental protection, fostering of human rights, gender equality, management of natural calamities acquired a global dimension. Then you have the I wonder questions in your textbook. So there is one question as is there such a division like rich countries and poor countries? So you can mention the developing countries in the West are rich countries, the developing countries in Asia and Africa are poor countries. The Western countries like England became rich by exploiting their colonies in Asia and Africa. The poor countries or the developing countries they made a demand for NIEO, that is new international economic order to reduce its disparity. Next question here, it's wonder just as a country is governed by a constitution, is there a kind of constitution at global level? So you can write international laws and convention, like international laws and agreement are like constitution at global level. The states are governed by these laws and convention. You also have we also have International Court of Justice at Hague, which is a city in Western Netherlands that settles all kind of dispute of different countries, international disputes according to international law. Then who enjoys the supreme position in an international system? So in the present era of unipolar, America enjoys the supreme position. Democracy, free market, trade, globalization are advocated by America. These ideas and institutions are now practiced all over the world. America enjoys the supreme position due to its enormous wealth and military might. So this is what we have done in this chapter. We have learned all through this. We have completed the chapter. Next lecture we'll start with next chapter, that is India's foreign policy. Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?